Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 10th, 2024 Planning Board meeting. If we could all please first stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I see a lot of people here tonight for the ANS application. It's a joke. Just want to remind everybody this is a work session tonight. There's no public hearings. So this is a discussion between the board and the applicants. We do not hear from the public at these meetings. Those meetings are going to, or those discussions will be held at anytime we have a public hearing. All right? So everybody's more than free to listen, absorb. Any concerns you have, please get them in writing to the planning department. Everything you send is given to us and is looked at. I know there's a lot of concerns. We can see from the turnout we have here that some of the applications are concerning to people. We always hear your concerns. If you look at our history and the meetings we've had, we always take every concern seriously. That being said, we're going to start with the meeting. First on the agenda is TJ Maxx. This is the Yorktown Green Shopping Center.
We have to do minutes.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of May 20th, 2024?
Motion.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
And this is a continuing discussion of a site plan, location 355 Downing Drive.
Mr. Chair, good evening.
Counselor?
How are you? Members of the board. Darius Shefazada with the law firm of Harris Beach for the applicant. This is the Yorktown Green Shopping Center. We've been here a number of times for the renovation of the facade and the addition of the loading dock. We've had some back and forth with you and the planning board about some landscaping plan, and we've submitted things to your staff on that. So we wanted to present tonight. The plan has been submitted. We have that. I think you've have a chance to review it. If not, we can go over it with you, and we have some renderings that'll show how it will look coming now in the future after plantings occur. So let me introduce the architect here to walk you through that. Good evening, everyone.
How are you?
Okay. Okay, the screen, everything is okay? Okay.
Introduce yourself, please.
My name is John Kabita, architect. I'm from Jarmel Keisel Architects and Engineers. Okay. So what I have in front of us is the revised landscaping plan. We had a few minor tweaks from the previous time that it was shown. The main update here is we changed the type of plantings that we are proposing. The overall concept has stayed the same. We would like to, along 118 primarily, infill the plantings that are either missing or just aren't providing enough screening as you are traversing Route 118. So that's the main concept that we are proposing. And on the plan, we have a few different symbols. Unless it is shown as green, it is existing and it is to remain. So I do have photos that we also photoshopped and showed some plantings that will also depict what I'm showing a plan here. But we'll start off trying to zoom in here. So we're going to start along Keir Street and 118 on the corner. So we're proposing to infill along Keir Street, and then as we go from left to right on the page, there's a few spots that we are infilling. Why can't I zoom in?
Is everyone able to see that? Okay. So we're proposing from the corner over, we're filling in this first gap here with 3 tall plantings. Let me zoom into our chart just to give you an idea of the height. But as this computer is regenerating, the idea here is to make sure that the plantings do not interfere with the power lines. We have strategically placed these to not interfere with the plantings, to make sure it is far enough away, and we want to play nice with it within the right of way. I just want to go over the few species and just give a little context to the plantings and just give the overall mature height. I apologize, just bear with me. Okay. We're here. This is the last time I'm on the chart. So we are proposing along 118 a few of the evergreen trees. So I'll go through the common name. So it's the Moffett blue juniper, and when you plant it, it's about 5-6 feet, and it matures to about 12 feet in height. And then also we have this baby giant thua tree, which again, you know, when it's planted, it's about 8 feet, and then when it matures, it's about 15 feet in height. So that's the, I'm going to zoom back to the 118. So that's the majority of the plantings that we're going to plant along 118. Technology is great when it works, but sometimes it's a little bit slow, so just bear with me. Okay. So the infill spots that we have and we have located in the drawings is at the corner. We have 3 plantings here of the taller trees that are about 10 to 12 feet in height. Then we have the lower shrubs, about 15 trees planted here, and this view to obfuscate, which is planted about 6 feet in height. And then as you traverse 118, we also are infilling this second gap, which is right in front of where the depressed loading truck is, which I'm highlighting with the cursor here. So we're really infilling all the gaps as you are from this corner. You know, we did a good job of keeping what is existing and just infilling all of the gaps. Yes. So the image that goes with here is the, I'm going to skip to just go to the photo renderings. So the renderings that we have put together, it's a series of about 13 images. These images, again, start at the corner of Kira 118. So the first image we have, okay, so here's the corner. This is existing, no trees. We haven't done anything to this image. The next one, again, this is the way it looks today, and these photos were taken in the middle of May of this year, so that's May 16th. So this is existing, and then this is where we infilled the tree species here. This is the juniper.
Is that showing mature height?
This is the mature height. And then here's another gap, and this is the corner of our building where you would see the truck loading dock with the depressed truck loading, and then this would be the one that's infilled. This is an existing picture. So you could see the existing plantings provide enough screening of the building, covering the roof. And we're just moving right down 118, going towards the Burger King.
These pictures are taken at eye level, I'm assuming.
Yes, this is eye level, that is correct. And again, we just infilled per our site plan with the landscaping that is shown and depicted.
This is eye level from the street?
This is a person standing, so yes, eye level.
Standing where?
On the sidewalk.
On the sidewalk. Thank you.
And are you replicating what was on the approved site plan in terms of number of shrubs and location generally, or are you doing a little bit different?
Well, we're gonna, per our drawings, per the site plan, we're exactly the same.
Per your drawing? Oh,
Per my drawing, yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes, thank you for the clarification. And we're just moving along. And these are existing photos. This one has not been updated. And now that's the same photo I just showed the previous slide, and then we are providing the infill to show that we are screening off the back of the building.
So go back to the previous one that showed this without the, yeah, there it is.
Yes. So now, our building is all the way back here, and then this would be the satellite building that is not actually attached to our building. So we're closer to the Burger King at this point.
You're like behind Taco Bell or something like that, right? Because that's where it's detached, right at that point.
Right. Correct. And that's the last image that we have.
So that's sort of the presentation on the landscaping. Happy to answer any questions, or I know there may be a resolution that may be considered.
Last time we asked to, I guess you guys were at another meeting, for you guys to show us where the AC equipment was gonna be on the roof as well, that was being.
Right, yeah,
proposed.
we've submitted that plan. We can walk you through that too if you'd
you
like.
could,
Sure.
please. Thank you.
And hopefully it'll be screened as you're seeing now. We can walk you through that too.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is the existing roof plan that we have shown. So this is the way before we started modifying the building, this is the way all the rooftop equipment is shown. We're also showing the building that is directly to the left of us, that is attached. So we're showing both roof plans. So our building is the main building. And so the plan that is shown here has a total of 20 rooftop units shown currently on the existing. Come on. And the proposed roof plan, we are showing a total of 19 rooftop equipment. So we're showing the satellite building to the left. We had a few rooftop equipment that we removed. And then we were also showing the 2 tenants that we have drawings into the building department for, which is the TJ Maxx and the Five Below. And then we are also showing a few of the existing rooftop equipment that was sized to air condition and cool that size space appropriate underneath. I just want to reiterate that the existing, we're replacing the roofing membrane and replacing it with a white TPO membrane. And we're going to be and when we install the new roofing membrane, we will bring it up the backside of the parapet wall, just to help make a nicer detail and make it more presentable.
Can you tell us what the net number of rooftop units will be? I know you only have certain tenants, but as of now.
When you say the net,
Well, you said you took some off and you put some new ones on, so what did it net out to be?
so what we're showing now, so 19, so there's actually 5 additional.
Okay.
So the question is, it's 19 total.
It's 19 total for the building to the left. It is also for the TJ Maxx and the Five Below. But then there's also 6 other units that are depicted on there that are part of the existing building.
Which will be altered as you get other tenants.
Yes.
So that number is expected to rise.
I would not say that. I would say right now it is size appropriate for the square footage below.
Okay.
So you got 19 plus the 6 that are going to stay and that are sized appropriately.
Correct.
Is that what we're saying?
That is what I'm correct. Yes.
Can you talk about the setting height of them on the roof?
So,
Thought I saw a detail in which it's going on some dunnage that appears to be set a little bit higher from the roof,
yes.
plane?
So the way these rooftop equipment are installed, it's an 18-inch curb support structure, and then the overall height of each RTU is 50 inches tall, which is 4'2", so that would give you 5'8" in overall height. We tried to take the rooftop equipment, and we wanted, I mean, as of right now, the way that they're painting, it's like a factory, a light gray beigeish color. We thought that maybe we could get it to blend a little bit more into the overall aesthetics of the roof and tried to get them painted white. But we were advised and told that we should not alter the factory paint. The factory setting of these rooftop equipment is going to void warranties, so it's better off just to leave them alone.
And it is a manufacturer's requirement to set them at the 18 inches higher from the roof plane?
Yes, and it is a building code, yes.
At this point, do you know how much higher these units are going to be than the original parapet walls?
These units would be the same height as the mechanical units that are there now. So we would be keeping and replacing in kind, so to speak, with the height.
What's
Is
that?
is the elevation of the unit higher than the parapet wall?
In the front of the building, no. We have part of the parapet that goes up.
So your detail on your drawings are just for the existing parapet walls? You're not modifying them in any location on the building?
We are modifying the parapet along the front of the building, and when I say the front, that is
Facing the parking lot in the front,
yeah, let me use the cursor here. So it would be this wall here.
right?
We are going to be modifying part of that parapet because we want to create a visual aesthetic.
Yeah, but I don't see any dimensions, excuse me, on your section, so I don't know. It's, I guess, the scale, but I can't scale it at this, and typically you don't scale it, but there is no dimension shown, so I don't know how tall it is above the roof.
Yes.
So you're asking the dimension of the parapet wall in the front? Is that what you're looking for? Or
Well,
the,
the
Any
front and
any-
the back, because both of them are gonna,
yeah, so the front additions of the parapet wall would hopefully screen everything.
No, I understand that, but
Parking
The
lot.
front and the parking lot.
I
and the
understand
back.
I understand the intention, but there's no dimension shown, so I don't know how tall it is,
Of what?
of the parapet wall. In any of the
So
section,
not the, just so we're clear, not the units, the wall.
I'm talking about the wall, because he was talking about changing the wall in the front of the building, but there's 3 different sections of a parapet wall, none of them show a dimension, so I don't know.
Yeah, I have dimensions on previously issued plans that were submitted.
Okay,
It is on there.
yeah, but we're looking at these now, so, that-
They were previously submitted. They weren't updated. Parapet wall height wasn't updated, is that right, John?
Correct.
no, but what I'm saying is the drawing that you gave us, that's in front of me now, has no dimension on it, so I don't know how tall it's gonna be.
But
And
everything
even if it
is-
was previously submitted, it's then been omitted on this drawing, because I don't see it.
Well, I would say the roof plan we don't show parapet heights on the roof plans. We show that on the exterior building
So why don't you
elevations.
show them that was submitted? The exterior elevation, and give them the height.
I don't know, I didn't get it working.
Why is it doing this?
It just started working.
Facing the parapet in the front.
So the existing let's see, so,
Want to get that up there?
oh, it's not showing?
not showing, you gotta go to the IP, I'm up on the top of the TV screen. You gotta log back in, you got disconnected.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. 30. How do I do this?
If I could ask everybody, if anybody does need to have a conversation, we understand. We just ask you to take it outside so we don't distract from the presentation, please. Thank you.
Five.
Has the roof work been started yet, do you know?
Is that showing? No. I thought I connected. Connect. Host.
The code's 5337, is it asking you for a code?
Yeah, it says enter a host name or address.
5337?
Your host name or address is 10.254.250.10.
Say that one more time?
It's up there.
It's up on the top.
Oh,
So open up a web browser like Google Chrome, and just at the top, type in http:// and the IP address, it'll be faster.
It's easy for you to say.
Your question's hanging.
okay. All right, so the existing parapet to the new height at the TJ Maxx is 6'5" tall.
And your existing parapet is what? I'm just trying to get an idea of how much you're increasing it. From what I can see visually when I go out there, just would give me an idea to. That's where I'm trying to get to with asking for the dimensions.
I understand. So we were increasing it 6'5" at the high point.
Oh, so that full dimension is the increase.
From the typical parapet, yes.
I got you. Okay.
What's the shortest parapet, just out of curiosity?
The existing parapet is 2 feet.
And that's what's there now, in a lot of the?
Yes, that is what is there now, correct.
2 feet, okay, thank you.
Yes.
How far along is the roof work?
It's over 90%.
So it's done. That answer your question.
So I think the question is, why is that work going on prior to our approvals?
The site plan things haven't been these haven't been put in, the units have not put in, but the building permit has been issued for work inside and the roof itself, but they're not site plan issues. The site plan issues are the addition for the loading dock, the facade, and these units.
So you have a building permit for interior work?
And the roof?
And the roof, yeah.
And the roof, yeah.
Replacement of the roof.
We're waiting on the loading dock, which TJ Maxx requires. We want to improve the facade, make it look nicer, because I just drove by now. It needs some work. We're ready to go. TJ Maxx can be in a couple months. all new.
Just so I understand, you consider that to be part of our approval or part of your building permit approval?
The facade actually work was approved by your architectural work, but I think, John, we've been discussing that they need to be approved by the planning board too.
Oftentimes, and I think that when it was first submitted, the board looked at it and there was really no negative comments about the facade work, so.
Signage has all been approved too, I understand.
Well, the signage is not approved yet, but your modifications were responsive to the comments that we had.
Yeah, just so you understand, ABACA is not an approving authority.
No, I understand,
Just
yeah.
so.
Recommending
I
it.
didn't know if you were clear on that.
Yeah, no.
Because it becomes part of our resolution.
Right,
Okay.
right, no, I understand, thank you. But they liked it.
Any other questions or concerns from the board?
No.
What's your thought?
I mean, we've got our questions answered for now, I think, so I don't know where we go from here, process-wise.
Can I add just one thing in before you get to process?
Yeah.
Could you go back to the landscaping plan?
I just want to know where they are with the DOT.
And just show the front for the whole thing?
Oh, for the front,
Yeah.
planters, yeah.
While we're waiting for the computer, how'd you guys make out with the DOT?
John, how do we make it with DOT? You submitted it, right?
Yeah, we submitted the drawings, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're slow to respond. I knew there was a submission. I wasn't privy to any response, but there hasn't been a response yet. But we're hot on their tails.
So is your submission, because I'm a little confused as to what we would do here, because part of it is there was an existing approval to allow plantings in the DOT right-of-way, correct?
There was existing approval by the planning board back, I guess it was in the
Right,
nineties.
right.
For a certain landscaping plan that was also subject to DOT approval, because it's
Right.
in the DOT right away.
Right, so I guess I'm not certain whether you have to ask for permission to do this additional work, or if this is considered to be part of that approval from the old days.
We will find out when DOT responds, but we're
Yeah.
prepared to put these trees in, help screen the roof, help beautify the
So
roadway. and
you
there-
basically asked them a question that's remaining unanswered at the moment?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they could say you're not gonna put it in the right of way. I mean, it doesn't block any, as far as we know, site distance or anything from the
Does
DOT.
that older
so-
approval still remain alive as, from a legal point?
Unless it's been specifically superseded.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
even if it's like for remedial work, right, cause that's like, I think we could potentially consider this remedial work, right?
well,
Because
there was a requirement to maintain it over the years, so that's
Still,
part of.
we would still need DOT to,
No, I understand,
Prove it.
but what I'm saying is I think our collective position should be that there was an approval originally. This is to further the maintenance of it and to update it.
Yeah.
And so we're not asking for approval from a standstill, we're asking for just
existing, yeah.
a
yeah.
blessing on putting in the additional work.
Right, yeah, it's
So-
hard to figure out what happened back in the nineties, but yeah, we're prepared to do this. Think it'll help screen everything, and
Right.
it is an enhancement, I would agree.
Yeah, okay.
The DOT is probably going to require a work permit.
Right.
Insurances,
Right,
and they are, as we've heard multiple times,
Very quick.
pretty slow,
a year behind.
yeah.
So, and I had read through the original approvals, and I think that there was some form of an annual review of this that
Yeah.
probably should continue.
And that's pretty standard to make sure that
Right.
the plantings are maintained and don't die, yeah.
Okay.
They wanna make it look good too, they're
So,
putting a
so
big
if that,
investment in here.
if that language were just carried forward, you're okay with that?
That's fine, yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. I don't like to always talk for my clients, sometimes I gotta look at him and make sure he's okay.
So I just want to point out at the front of the plaza, you'll see that it's showing the 8 or 9 trees in front of the big building, but the buildings on either side of it, the wings, if you will, are not showing any landscaping in there. So our recommendation would be that it is continued to across the entire building to either reflect the original approval or the new installations, which I think you're raising them a little bit and elongating them. So that would be my recommendation on that. On the rear, I would,
And that's fine with
Yeah.
with us. Yeah.
In the rear, I would suggest that a note be placed that in terms of, and it looks like most of the numbers of plantings seem adequate, but there's a couple spots that it may be short, so I would suggest that there's a condition that the plantings are subject to field review, and that there's, 5 or 6 needed here, when there's 4 shown, that we do the 5 or 6, and that gets reflected in, a later drawing after the fact.
Like an as-built?
Those are the 2 things I have on the landscaping plan.
That's fine.
Anything else? You all right?
The
Counselor?
The trees in the front, we didn't address those.
Oh, those are fine.
You're okay with that? Because I knew you had brought the replacement.
Extend it to the side. They're fine.
Yeah, extend
Yeah,
it.
whatever the language on that is fine.
Yeah, I forget what the species were, I'm sure it's on there, but it's,
Yeah, the
the
species in
trident
the
maple.
front, the species in the front is.
Yeah, I know, we talked about it, I just
Trident
didn't know where we
maple.
left it, that's all.
Yeah, we're proposing the trident maple. It's like a reddish colored leaf.
And you're modifying the openings that they were planted in?
That is correct.
Right,
We're
okay.
definitely elongating them.
Okay.
It'll be in line and look good right next to the Uncle Giuseppe, so it'll be a nice shopping center again.
Uncle Giuseppe's is the best.
It is.
All right, then, we have a resolution approving an amended site plan for the Yorktown Green Shopping Center. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Best
Thank
of
you
luck
for
to
your time and effort. We appreciate it.
thank you.
Thanks.
Good luck, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Right, the facade's in the resolution, right?
well, the facade's in the resolution by virtue that all of the plans that you submitted are enumerated in the resolution. So,
Voted on this in the work session.
right, we're gonna get it signed and you can,
Do we have to open a special session?
so they can start the facade work, right? And once
Yeah.
you get the signed site plans,
Do we have to open a
We just
special
did this
session?
in the work session.
right,
Do we open a
you
special?
gotta open a special session.
All right,
Sorry.
we go back. Do I have a motion to open a special session?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let me go back to the resolution.
Yeah,
Again, we have a resolution approving an amended site plan for the Yorktown Green Shopping Center. Do I have a motion?
With amendments?
With amendments.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good luck again.
that's it, we're done?
That's it. Wait, one more time.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
We're gonna wait on the loading dock to wait.
We have 3 in front of us tonight. 1, 2, 3 that have requesting approvals for work already done.
Yeah, no, we have to talk about this. I don't want to bring that up as part of this approval. It's really not on them.
Yeah,
So I'm going to make that their issue.
yeah.
Okay. I don't disagree.
When do we talk about that?
Hope we're drunk.
All right, next on the agenda, we have Nantucket Sons LLC. This is a discussion of field changes, location 385 Kear Street.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Doing well. Joseph Thompson, representing the application for the requested site plan amendments. I'm here with the owner, Marcel Plella, for Nantucket Sounds property on Kear Street for continued discussion. Again, appreciate the board's attention to allowing us to continue to review this issue. We've initially presented it to the board, met in the field, reviewed a number of the concerns the board's had. What we tried to do in this last submission is provide information on all the different accounts that were cited during the site meeting. The primary topic of concern is the equipment pad that's located adjacent alongside the building. And what we're proposing, in lieu of the original rooftop screened plan for the units, is a decorative iron fence that has privacy screening that we believe will basically fully screen those units and use that same material for the dumpster enclosures, which we think will soften them versus concrete block structures. We've reviewed the sound data for the units, and we're willing to provide a field test to the board if the board would like to hear those units. They are cited to operate as low as 49 decibels by the manufacturer, which is a very low noise level. We think the screening will actually refract that sound and also help to mitigate it. And further, we're proposing to screen that area and the perimeter of the property with a number of evergreen plantings that would also help to again, soften the appearance of these structures that we're proposing. The primary reason for the change that was made by the owner is that there's functional concerns with placing the units on the roof. While they can be placed up there, it would require a crane to put them on the roof. There's a 3x3 access hatch, which allows for access for maintenance, but if a unit were to fail, we would have to actually crane that unit off the roof and crane a new unit on, which is pretty intensive. It also potentially deters regular maintenance, even including in snow events where snow might be able to be more easily removed and we would know if it were accumulating on the ground. So the owner has some concerns, and he's tried to pay attention to detail in the building. I think he's done a nice job on the building and the property. They've landscaped it now, and the site looks very attractive. And he's the one that's got to continue to maintain this property. So we're requesting some relief on this decision that was made, and again, trying to screen it to the best of our ability. We also think that some of the proposed changes, like the dumpster relocation from the front of the site where it was originally approved, also helps to increase the overall aesthetic appeal of the property, because most traffic to the site, we will believe, will be by vehicle as opposed to by foot. And when you enter from Kear Street, that's your initial impression of the property with a dumpster enclosure right in the front. So the original reasoning for that was convenience to the commercial tenant, and we have a commercial tenant that's interested in the property. They take no issue to it being into the rear, so we're hoping we can make that change too, so that all of the refuge enclosure can be at the rear, and again, soften that appearance with a decorative fence in lieu of block. We've also reviewed it with the Carter that plans to service the site, and they believe it'll also be more easily serviced if that dumpster enclosure is at the rear of the site, because they'll be able to back up right to it, as opposed to blocking the entrance at Kear and manually wheeling the dumpsters out at an angle. So for a number of reasons, we're hoping that the board will entertain further discussion on the potential changes. Again, we're happy to do a field test of the sound or review any of the concerns the board has in further detail.
Do you want to talk about the propane tank too?
We can. So there's a food service tenant that's very interested in the property. They'd like to have the ability to have a propane tank. It's proposed as 125-gallon tank. The dimensions of that's roughly 30-inch diameter, 4.5 foot height, or it could be installed horizontally. That would allow them to kitchen equipment that ideally would be operated on gas rather than electric. So we're hoping the board will allow us to entertain that as well. And again, that would be proposed to be screened by evergreens that should essentially block the view of that tank completely from the street.
You have natural gas available there, correct?
We do. So the original application was all electric, so the service to the building is currently only electric. The tenant has approached Con Edison. They're interested in a natural gas upgrade, but right now with new services, we've experienced backlogs anywhere 6 to 9 months to execute on that service, and we're also not fully informed on the cost of it, so it could be fairly substantial. So the tenant may not be able to incur that initially, so we'd like to start with the natural gas tank, and if they're able to accomplish that permanent service, and then they would remove the tank when they complete it. It would be in their best interest because per unit, the gas is more cost effective if it's hooked to the municipal or the utility service, but that could be more of a long-term solution.
I would like to address the smaller, just for me, the smaller issues first. I don't have much of a problem with the change to the dumpsters in terms of the location. In terms of the screening that goes around them, I think that's typically done by ABACA. I don't know if they still do that or not, but
We could certainly request a review for an amended detail on the dumpsters with ABACA. We have not reviewed that with them yet.
okay. For me, that's a detail, but in terms of the location, I don't necessarily see a problem with it. I think it helps the lower part of your site at the expense of the upper part of your site, but at least it's combining two locations into one. So for me, that's a plus.
I think it's a net benefit.
Yeah, it
Agreed.
is.
Yeah.
In terms of the propane tank, I would agree to putting it there as long as it's temporary, as long as you pursue the connection to natural gas, so that tank doesn't have to remain there.
I don't know if we can commit the tenant to that, only because we're not fully aware of the cost yet. There's
Well-
intent for it, but if that's the stipulation, then
Yeah,
I suppose we'll
I'm
have to.
comfortable doing it for a period of time, but not in perpetuity, because I don't think the tank in the front there is a thing anybody's gonna care to look at that much.
Understood.
And I also have a further concern that the parking lot above that lends the possibility of a vehicle eventually hitting that tank. So there's gotta be some protection for that.
That tank is at a lower elevation, probably
Exactly.
about 4 or 5 feet, so the vehicle would actually have to fall off or dismount off the parking lot.
Exactly. That's exactly my concern.
Okay. Bollards could be installed.
Yep. Something's gotta be put there to prevent that from happening, because we've had it happen in town in other places.
Multiple times.
Okay.
So
And we've seen
that's-
buildings and storefronts be impacted by vehicles, so,
So if that's gonna happen, to me, that's gonna be a requirement.
Okay.
So, and then there's the last issue, which is the air conditioning units. I've tried to read the specs, and it's a little bit too small for me to determine the exact dimensions of it, but I believe those air conditioning units are designed specifically for the ease of locating them and moving them. And so it's my belief that those probably could be brought to the roof. I mean, if you can read the dimensions, it would help me. I'm just looking for the length and width, basically, and the weight of it.
the largest dimension, the long dimension, is the height. It's 52 inches tall, and the length is 42 inches in length. They're narrow. They're only 13 inches wide.
Right.
But we have a 3 foot by 3 foot access hatch, so again, we'd have to crane that unit to the roof. So it can be done, but difficult to
But
replace.
I
future
also, I
buildings.
believe that on your upper floor of the building, there is I'll call it a false window, a window that is there for design, but it doesn't serve any space.
Not functional,
Right,
correct.
so those units could be brought up through that window and access into the area where they'd be stored.
Those windows are about 30 inches by 30 inches. It's a series of them in,
Right,
see if I have a photograph. You can see them here on this board at least. So those are about 30 by 30, so that the
Right.
units wouldn't fit through, and it doesn't translate. We'd have to actually cut through the back surface of the parapet, so that the crane would be the
no, I
the
think
lesser
that,
two
I
evils.
think the window I'm talking about is on the side of that. It's on
Are you talking about the gable face?
the gable
It's
face,
a-
the gable end,
There's a double hung.
right.
That would entail similar treatment. We'd actually
Right.
have to cut through that parapet, and the trusses are spaced at 2 foot on center, so I think that would probably be difficult. The crane would probably still be the better option.
My problem with this whole thing is that this is a self-induced hardship.
It is.
The plans were thoroughly reviewed by this board with the public's input. You can see our public is involved in a lot of what goes on here, especially since it's televised, so people at home can watch what goes on. So your application, although it was not you, it was the previous property owner, went through the process. And that resulted in an approved site plan and a resolution that basically outlines everything that took place in the approval process. So then you acquired a set of drawings and a resolution, and those rooftop units were part of that resolution.
We acknowledge that.
So to have them mounted outside prior to asking this board for that approval, I find offensive. And then to be asked to look the other way, so to speak, because you'd have to get a crane to put those up there is just not our problem. And we haven't done that anywhere else. If you said to me as one board member, we ran into rock and we couldn't put something in, you need to change a foundation or something, that's a different story. But this is, I just don't look favorably upon putting something in a place that this board never would have approved it from the beginning. On top of which, I know I read the law, and whether this is inside or outside the setback is to be discussed, but part of these units are outside the setback line, which bothers me even further. I'm just not in favor of granting you relief to put these units where they are. You came back to us once to ask for a change in siting, which we granted to you. That was done in an appropriate time. But these units, you told me at one point, these were decided to be put there about 9 months ago, probably 10 months ago now. So that, to me, is just, I don't look favorably upon, the roof was designed to put those units up above where you couldn't see them. That's where in my point, that's where they should go.
That's correct, and the applicant has tried to consult with the board on the siding change, on the curb cut change, and on this one, they did not.
Right.
And so unfortunately, probably, there was some lack of, or loss of knowledge when the property transferred, not to excuse it. And so we're in this position, and so they're trying to offer a best approach. If it's unacceptable to the board, we understand it'll be, fairly
Well,
destructive to
I'm
have to
speaking,
fix it.
I'm
but-
speaking for myself right now.
I do understand.
We'll come to a conclusion shortly, probably, but that's my feelings on it. So, and I'm perfectly willing to look at the other situations because they're in advance of your getting your C of O. You're asking us to consider a change. It makes some sense for me to change some of those things, so I'm agreeable to changing them. This, I'm just not in favor of doing it.
Understood, and ideally, the process would have been different,
I understand.
so.
John, could I have your opinion?
On,
Guide me
on the refrigerator, the cooling
on the whole
issue?
situation.
Well, the cooling situation is, I think, just as Bob has described it. There are times that you have mechanical equipment placed around the building and they are screened, so that has happened before. It's not unusual, but the effort by this board has always been to try to screen them, and we take a lot of effort when they are on the roof, which is their more typical location, that we talk about the height of parapets and so on and so forth. We do that quite a bit, so. And I think part of that discussion took place during the initial review of the project. Again, you can accomplish screening in other ways other than, a parapet, in particular when things are on the ground. We've done that too, but, so there's two approaches there. But the board has been very active in seeing that rooftop units are not able to be seen to the greatest extent possible. So.
Thank you.
You want to add anything?
Don't want to weigh in.
The board will allow, we have a few more photographs of the site and the roof to share.
By all means.
Thank you.
Just one quick question. Were you the architect of the original design?
I was.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard the weight, Bob. They're 278 pounds. Yeah.
Let's see. So these photographs were taken just recently. We just wanted to share the current status of the site, the landscaping, which we believe the owner's very attractively accomplished to date. Sorry, I have to zoom in on all these. This shows the area in question where evergreens have been started to be planted in that area. It's set back close to 20 feet from the edge, the bulk of it. So it's a fairly significant distance from the sidewalk. And there's a number of different types of plantings, larger trees that will fill volume. So what we're hopeful of is, again, that this structure will fall into the background, be softened by some of the landscaping in the foreground. And the other concern the property owner asked me to share with you is there's a video that he's taken of the roof. Just to get an impression of what's currently on the rooftop. This is the access hatch that would need to be utilized to service the units. And as you look around the roof, there's a number of exhaust penetrations. And while there's space available, I guess another portion of this request, and I understand potentially the board's decision on this, is that to entertain a future restaurant use, which is very interested in the property right now, they'd need a hood with makeup air. And we don't believe we can accommodate everything on the roof. And so that's not a reason to, push the board to approve this in any way, but we wouldn't be able to accommodate both, we don't believe. And so that creates a little difficulty with leasing for a tenant that might be, have a really positive impact here, again, with the patio and potential outdoor dining. So just hoping to share those with the board as well for consideration.
You got anything you want to add?
This location that you're proposing for these units, what is adjacent, I see windows, or what's going to be the occupying?
So the pad as it's currently built, it's located on the side of the building. There's an upper patio that will probably house bicycle racks or bicycle storage, and the residential tenant entrance is at that upper lot. Down below, there's actually a retaining wall You can see on the side here on the rendering that was enclosed in the package, and a fence. So the top of that fence, from folks that might be sitting at these tables, it's approximately 10 foot higher than the finished level of that patio, so it's significantly higher. But again, with the grade change here and the evergreens, we think will be successfully screened from the street. So around it, we've got the dining down below, and we've got residential apartment window units along the side here.
My consideration is the noise that the units are gonna be making in proximity to these occupying uses.
That's why we suggested, and if the board would like us to, we'd be happy to provide a field test of the sound. At the time, we had a field meeting a few weeks ago. The building hadn't yet been energized. It's now energized. So we've requested permission, if the board would like to entertain that, to hook these units up. They haven't been fully hooked up yet, because we understand we're under a stop work order. But I agree that's something that should be evaluated before the decision's made.
Let me ask you, you designed the building, did you design a chase between the roof and the tenants?
We did.
Run the mechanicals?
2 chases, yes.
Okay, so the chases are empty right now.
Correct.
Thank you.
You said that the fit-out is not done for the proposed restaurant tenant.
No work has started, just planning.
So if that tenant is gonna become the tenant, they're gonna have to do other work.
Correct.
Do we have any idea what that other work looks like?
Other work in the sense of mechanical equipment?
Yes.
So generally, restaurants require exhaust for their hoods and a makeup air unit. That's a large unit. It can be, let's say, 8 feet in length, 4 foot in height. They're very large units. And so ideally, if we were in a situation where we pick one or the other, not saying we are, the makeup air unit, I think, would be a lot more disruptive than these condensers. And so ideally, that would need to be on the roof. And so potentially, again, this is a hardship the applicant would have to deal with, but if we're not allowed to have these units on the ground, the proposed tenancy may not work at this location. That's all.
Is the gable structure that surrounds this pad vacant space? In other words, it's not habitable space, correct?
Correct. It's uninhabitable attic that,
Right.
it's all trusses at 2 foot on
Right.
center.
So,
it's-
so the makeup air units theoretically could occupy space within that attic area?
They only couldn't because the trusses have webs that they can't be installed within.
Okay.
Again, these units are large, potentially 4 foot
Right.
by 4
Okay.
foot, and a longer length. And they also need to breathe, so we need to locate them so that the intake is at least 10 foot from any other exhaust, which is part of a roof layout that we've had. We've had hood companies up on the roof to evaluate the proposed location for that tenant. They don't see any issue, but in conjunction with all the units, we don't believe that will work.
So you can't fit everything up on the roof?
We don't believe so, no.
Could the air conditioning units occupy space in that attic area?
They cannot because they have the clearances we submitted. So basically, there's an air deflector that we propose to use that reduces the clearance down from what's a standard, approximately 4.5 feet down to 20 inches. So that's why the compact layout that we've submitted on the equipment plan actually works. We've verified that with the HVAC contractor and supplier. But they need to breathe. They can't be in enclosed space or they won't function.
There's gonna be a lot more out there. We need to see that, right? That could be even more of an impact.
Yeah, I think you're adding another problem for us to consider, I think.
I am.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
No, I mean, I think you're in a unique situation because you're the guy who designed what I consider to be a well-thought-out roof structure that was hiding all that mechanical equipment, and now you're arguing against your own design, so to speak. And
It works. if
I'm
it's-
not convinced of your argument against your design. I'm
It is
standing
against
up for
myself.
the first guy.
It works if it's one or the other. And so
Right.
with a restaurant tenant,
Right.
it does not with the current exhaust locations and the current layout. So it would limit the tenancy of the building to more of a retail or office type use.
So I have to remind you that there's 4 members of the board here tonight. It's not a full board. I also don't like when the board is put in a position to become the bad guy, right?
We're not trying to do that though, but
But we are, all right? Let's be honest. So we work hard on these approvals. See the public come out. And now after the work is done, coming back to change it. And we understand this field changes. This is a little bit more than that,
Agree.
all right? Now, there's a proposed restaurant that is gonna add to the mechanical equipment, that is gonna be even more of a possible visual impact that we're gonna need to see. My concern is, we approve things, and people come back and then change them later. That old adage, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. My problem is we sit here at all these meetings, and you see we got a packed house here for another application in front of us tonight. And how do you keep the trust of the public when things are constantly on the move? That being said, I would like to hear the units, and I do want to see what's proposed for this other mechanical equipment.
We can get back to the board with a layout for the roof and that equipment.
Because I know the restaurant equipment is going to be more of an impact than the AC equipment.
I did speak to the restaurateur, and he will be forthcoming with a plan for his layout. So I think that might help the board to better understand what the end product is gonna look like with everything, if potentially it gets approved.
And I have to be honest with you, I'm not in favor of the AC location either, but I am more concerned about the equipment that could go with the restaurant. So I think, and I thank you for not doing it and coming in, I think we need to see that.
Agree that that would be the more egregious of the two. So we can look at this a little bit more comprehensively. And we understand the potential outcomes that just may not work for the tenant, but appreciate the ability to continue to further review.
So what I would recommend is we put this on pause. We're gonna have to visit the site yet again, but more importantly, we see the design of that equipment and where that would go and how that's gonna work.
If agreeable to the board, we'll compile all that and then schedule basically a field test when the units are energized. We'll work with the planning department and then see if it's an acceptable level.
And in no way are we saying I think that's the end of this, but I think we need to see this mechanical.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The problem got bigger.
One more request, I don't know if the board will be willing to entertain it or not. A stop work order was instituted at the last meeting. Could that be considered for relief so the property owner can continue to work on finalizing construction that's not related to these issues?
I think the reason the stop work was put in place is because we didn't want, at a later point, to come back and say, we let us work, and now if we have to move these units, now we can't. That's my concern.
When do you anticipate you'd like to hear the units?
I honestly, would be best for me this week. I'm away next week, so. I
Okay,
don't
so
know.
that they would have to energize the units for that, so that would be a permission that you'd have to grant them at this point without lifting the stop work order.
Yeah, give them the permission to energize the units and we can go out and look at them.
Absolutely.
All right.
Great.
Okay.
We'll confirm with HVAC Contra how quickly they can be put in place, see if we could make that happen this week.
How long is it gonna take for the mechanical? for the
I think they
restaurant?
just need to charge the units.
No, I mean for the proposed restaurant there.
As far as the
Getting the
plans or the
information.
build-out?
All
Oh, the information?
Yeah.
I know that he's had hood companies review the site already. I can consult with the restaurateur, see what he has for documentation, and then get back to planning department tomorrow on that, and see if we can coordinate that as well, so we can review all issues comprehensively.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah,
Our next meeting is when?
24th.
And the next meeting is not in this building, it is at the Al Capolini Center. I guess there's an election going on here. Good?
I'm good.
I'm good. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, next we have Guiding Eyes for the Blind. This is a discussion of an approved site plan. Locations 3241 Compound Road.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Russo of Environmental Compliance Services Incorporated. I'm here with Joseph Farino, Site Design Consultants, and we're here on behalf of Guiding Eyes for the Blind. We're seeking the board's acceptance of a change in our mitigation plan relative to one stream section, section 1, restoration area. Okay, Joe, we have,
Oh, they gotta log out?
He's holding it hostage.
Can you boot him?
Come on, Joe.
There we go. Otherwise, we pull the plug. That always works.
Cooking equipment is massive.
He's got the wrong tenant.
Massive equipment.
He's got the wrong tenant. It's in the wrong place. Proposing that as a solution for keeping the
okay. Zoom in a little bit, Joe? Just to remind you of the areas that we proposed for creation and restoration. You can see on the bottom, if you recall the proposed driveway entrance off of Mohansick, there'll be a 36-inch culvert under that driveway. Below that south is E3. That's the wetland enhancement and creation area. And E4 is to the right. Looked like a set of kidneys, I guess. But up north, just before E5, where Joe's cursor was just then, is the stream section that we're proposing a change. If you may recall, we talked a little bit about some alternatives. We came up with having some heavy boulders and some cribbing, stone and soil cribbing, to reinforce that east bank in towards the culvert placement. We also had some reflective boulders on the other side, on the west side, a little further down. I've been watching the stream for 3 years now, a little more than 3 years. I noticed that the stream is sort of mellowing out, and the cutting has been done, the scouring is done, and the sediment has dropped out on the the west side, close towards the proposed culvert. And also further down, keep in mind this stream angles towards the northwest along the western boundary of the mobile gas station, which is the adjoining property. What we're looking to do is to do away with that fortified approach and for stream stabilization, utilize riprap, 6-inch angular stone, and that would be placed on a 2-on-1 slope and just on the banks, not in the stream bed. And that would extend, Joe, Joe's showing his cursor just before E5, and nothing on the west side except planting an area that is now going to be E5A. So, not yet. We will be adding a few boulders just where you see that kick out right there, just to kind of promote the dropout. It's doing very well in obligate vegetation. Wetland vegetation has taken hold. So we're looking to go with the flow, if you will, and go with the stone, and also continue our proposal for riparian species, shrub and trees on the banks, and also open up the rock and put in a grid system, like a narrow grid system at a certain length, and add in shrubs, water-tolerant shrubs such as nannyberry and redquig. That would help to root the bank along with the stabilization, the stone stabilization. Joe has another drawing that shows you a close-up, gives you a close-up of that area. Okay. Okay, up in the top right where Joe's bluing out. There we go. Okay, you can see, you just about see the limits of stone placement, which is just south of E5 along that east bank. And it spins around where the stream is now meandering a bit, and it joins up with that boulder placement that you see in red. And just on the other side of that is where you have that flat area that's a natural accumulation of sediment that's obligate species are taking hold. What we're looking to do is to plant that with obligate species, and even behind that with fac wet, if you will, things like spice bush, shrubs, water tolerant shrubs. And that's basically it. You can see below where the 36-inch culvert will come in. And Joe had planned to rip-wrap that area with an apron. We're just going to extend it, again, on a 2-on-1 slope. It's clean, and the idea of placing plantings above the high water mark within the stone it will definitely work.
So you're, if I understand you, you're increasing the wetland-created area, right? Meaning E5A is new and
Correct.
was not proposed before.
That is correct. I want to take advantage of that.
Right, and what was proposed before was more of the line of boulders, just as a
Correct.
stabilization.
It was very hard,
method.
yes.
Okay. So this is actually further enhancement to
Exactly.
the wetland values in this
Right.
corridor. Is that-
Right, exactly. As a function of, over the years, it's gotten better. And right now, it's a concentrated flow with that small pipe that exists, and it'll work out really well.
How high will the proposed riprap go?
Well, these banks only come up to
Right.
the highest your bank, your highest bank, so.
And there'll be a slight,
And it's 2-on-1.
and there'll be an apron at the top of it?
No, it's actually gonna meet soil. We're gonna have plantings up on top
Oh,
also.
okay, so the top will be planted.
Oh, yeah, and
Okay.
there's also a riparian seed mix.
So
that
you're
we're going.
kind of, you're almost channelizing the stream.
Yes.
Okay.
On a limited basis,
Right.
just where it has
Right.
to be.
Right, okay.
Has the Conservation Board seen this?
No. We're first with you.
You have any concerns?
No, I mean, it's increasing the functional
Right.
area of the wetlands, so I think it's actually a positive.
It's a plus.
All right, I'm sure they'll like it.
Yeah, and you have to go for other approvals after this with other.
Yeah,
people?
we're looking to get a core permit application in for Nationwides, and if we receive this, if you accept it, I can focus now on what we're talking about with Nationwides and the amount of fill. The mitigation plan will be updated, and that'll be sent out to the Corps as well. Now, we do plan to update the plan one other time after we finish our field work, whereby we're going out with piezometers or standpipes, more likely, and get that data along with soil samples and just backing up those creation areas. So that's an additional upgrade as a function of just nailing down, showing the proofing out those areas.
That will happen at the end of the installations?
Well, we're gonna get we're putting in the pipes maybe in another couple of weeks.
Okay.
And we want to get some seasonal data. As we get that data, we'll see if we get close to the fall, we can do some plantings. But there's other things to do. Eve 2, for instance, that's an eradication, Japanese spikegrass. We always said if we're going to carry into the fall with that, we would clear that out and seed. Put an obligate fac wet seed mix in there. But there's other things to do, including the stream sections. The road has to go in, as you would imagine, so we're in a rush to get that permit, that authorization for Nationwide.
Okay. The only thing I would suggest is that whatever is produced for Army Corps gets copied to the board.
Oh, absolutely.
And-
That's a given.
Right, okay, and that it goes to the Conservation Board.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Sure.
I think it's an
Do we
improvement.
have to formally approve it in some form at some time? Not tonight, but
It seems to be a field change, but I mean, if you want to take a
no, I'm
consensus
just,
vote, yeah.
do we?
I think everybody up here is in favor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have an issue with it. I just don't know procedurally if you need something more formal from us,
You can,
because it's still gotta go to the Conservation Board.
Yeah, I don't think we particularly need that. I mean,
Okay.
really, the next move for us is to go to Army Corps.
Right.
But, and so we're gonna be progressing in that direction. We don't know if Army Corps is gonna have us make any changes or whatnot. I think that would be the appropriate time, once
Okay.
they've done their review to come and show it again. I mean, we still have to come back for final site plan approval,
Right.
For signature, and everything will
Do
be
it-
updated at that
We
point.
could do it at that time.
Right.
Okay.
And-
I just don't wanna hold you up by the lack of something on.
Yeah, at this point, we are close, I think, within the next 2 months of having the DEP permit.
Mhm.
And then once we're past that, we have a health department permit that we need, and we're working on that. Then, from my position, the site engineering part, we're ready to go. And then it's just this permitting that needs to get done.
So oftentimes we issue a memo for the record, and if you assent to it, so that's
Yeah.
typically.
Why don't we do that then?
That's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Good luck.
Very good, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very
care.
much.
All right, next we have ANS. This is a discussion of proposed outdoor seating, locations 3695 Hill Boulevard.
Oh, this guy.
We've got a large crowd here for you tonight.
Thank you.
He cleans up pretty good, huh?
You like that, huh?
No shorts. See?
You like them, I know you do. So we have in front of the ANS, the store, we have the tables outside. We want to put proposed concrete ballards up for protection of the tables.
Not the people.
Well, people, oh, yes.
Some of the people, some of the people.
Not the people.
Oh, my Lord.
Had to do it, sorry.
That's okay.
Again, we've.
I don't see any problem.
No, I don't.
So,
either.
yeah.
I
Just cut and
don't
dry.
think it's-
Oh, it's the, so
Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, they have them in front of 7-Eleven right now, so,
It's-
you
Yeah.
know, it's a kind of a standard,
procedure.
a
Let's
standard
not forget
solution.
CVS.
Right, so you gotta do a special permit, right, because it's 18 seats.
Yep. Any seating or any parking issues or?
No, there's no diminishment of parking issues, and in this case, more so than others, this is more of a retail situation, so the sit down and have your sandwich is much quicker than sitting down to a restaurant meal. So there's no issue with it.
And there's no table service out there? It's-
No.
Okay.
So the only thing I would like to get more info on is a little bit more on the bollards themselves, their diameter, what height you'll be doing, and I'm not sure of the exact locations. I see there's two per
Two per
parking
space.
space, so to speak, but maybe they need to be spread out a little bit to make sure that there's nothing that can get through between them, so just some information like that for the next time.
What is the height requirement?
I would say it's like, 4 feet,
Yeah,
something like that.
4 feet seems to be about what they are. If you look at the ones in front of 7-Eleven, in town here, there's a bunch of them that recently went in. So I think you can kind of measure off of those if you want to see one. And I don't know, is that a detail that you have in the planning office?
Of bollards, no.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's kind of a standard.
If you foil one of the other applications, I'm sure it's a standard detail.
We can get you some information if there's anything standardized.
Okay, fine. And then, on another note, this is Nick Palumbo, he's the owner of the Common Grounds Cafe, and on the end, he has an outdoor cafe that's set up already, okay?
I
And
noticed.
so on that issue, we're just trying to get to the bottom of what is the actual thing that he actually needs there. He does have a building permit already that was given to him by the building department. So, someone from the town, the building department came out and asked about the seats. So, and he said he has the building permit. So now we're just trying to find out what's the actual, to find out what is the right requirement for the cafe. Because planning was out to look at the site, so we want to try to get
Can we
some
see the
answers.
permit? So-
If you have questions, go ahead.
Does the building department have, they do again?
What's the issue date?
So they already have a permit.
It says outdoor seating, 7 picnic tables on the left side of cafe, common grounds.
That permit was issued under the outdoor dining law that was passed while, during COVID, which, we're looking to, it's been extended. So, that permit was validly issued, under the existing extended outdoor dining law, which we are looking at, in order to, strengthen it, make it better, and kind of change, but, you know, that was born out of the whole COVID era where everybody was building stuff in the city and that kind of stuff. That's why that was issued. And I think it's got an expiration date of, soon.
September.
Which was what all the outdoor dining under the COVID law that we passed, required.
But when did your lease start?
When did they start?
The lease started 2 years ago, but then we had delays
Yeah,
on getting
we
equipment.
opened March 26th of '23.
Okay, so that would have been after it expired.
The outdoor dining law was extended on several occasions, by the town board. And I think the last final extension that we agreed on was this past time that we extended. I don't remember the date, but,
December.
but it was December,
I
right?
think so.
So, you know, and we are looking at it. I was intending to look at an outdoor dining law, but, you know, we're in the process of doing that.
That had a limit of so many seats, correct?
I don't remember exactly what it had, but it did give the discretion temporarily because of the COVID, born out of the COVID era, to the building department. So,
So Mario, this is issued to you, is that correct? This says Hill Boulevard LLC.
I guess it is, yes.
But did you apply for this? Because you,
No, there wasn't, I wasn't, but when they probably put it under the site plan or, for the building, or,
because the other issue is that this is an easement, a right-of-way.
No, I understand that, and we
You
want
have, you have 42 seats on this, which to me is beyond what I read in the code that was referred to by.
yeah, and I understand that. What I need to know is what do we need to do to rectify it, because I'm getting conflicting
Right, I'm just trying to understand how we
So
got to
what
here.
happened was John Landy came to the site, we gave him the site drawings, he said, all right, you need to put planters, but make sure they're cement in the planters, and, because, you know, you can't go fast around that, and we never have, it's 36 potential, people out there. We have a tavern license for beer and wine, but we don't do dinners, we do just breakfast, lunch, and brunch, so our gross revenue, 1% is alcohol, so it's not a lot of drinkers that come to this place. So the point is, what do we need to do there if what we already have is not sufficient? Is it I heard possible fence, possible ballards, ballards would cost a fortune there because it's a long easement. So I don't
Cost
know
a
what we
fortune
need
to
to
put
do.
somebody in a hospital also.
I get it. No, I get it. I want to make good on it, but what's the right thing to do?
I think
That's
the
what I
right
wanna-
thing to do now, because it's already out there,
Uh-huh.
is to have the planning department come out, visit you guys on site, because we have a proposal to add in front of the ANS. And what we're hearing is now there's existing seating already outside. So you want to make sure your site is compliant.
Right.
So I would have John and Robin come out, take a look at what you got, see if and how you can make it compliant.
Okay, that's
That
all.
would be the way to go.
Okay.
And for me, one of the major concerns is that some of your seating is sitting in an easement. That easement runs through that lawn area that you have seats on.
Towards the back end of the building?
No, it runs the whole length of, I'm gonna call it east to west.
Uh-huh.
From the Hill Boulevard Street back towards the power lines, there's an easement that goes all the way through Mario's property.
Okay,
So your seating is in that easement.
okay.
So that's an issue.
So how many seats could we put there?
Well, you have to-
I don't know, you're gonna have to propose a plan that's ultimately gonna have to be on his site plan, an amendment to his site plan, as I see it. I mean, unless you correct what I'm saying, you need to amend a site plan that's Mario's site plan with his permission that recognizes the easement and any setback from the curb and so forth, any safety issues that we might bring up.
Okay.
But this is showing 42 seats. I think there's 42 plus out there. There's 7 picnic tables, but then there's some individual tables. But I don't know if we would have to review the extension of the legislation that was just referred to to see whether it's still current, because this says the expiration date is September. So you're gonna be putting in improvements that will have an expiration. So I think you have to address those issues, but you need to put a plan in front of us that we can comment on, and then if we approve it, it refers to that plan.
Okay.
But without the plan, it's just language, and it's difficult to do
Okay.
that.
So in order to put the plan together, I would love someone to come there.
That's why you want to have them
Right.
come.
Exactly, and tell us exactly what needs to be done.
That's right.
So I'm
You're
not,
not
I'm
wasting
not
your
running
time.
in circles.
Absolutely.
Right, exactly.
So have them come out, take a look. If you need us to have a site visit at some point, just, let us know when. We'll come out also and take a look, see what's
Okay.
going on. But definitely have them come to the site,
And that would be John, right?
John and Rob, yeah.
Okay.
And you might want to bring Ian. I don't know, though.
Okay.
Watch him.
Yeah.
But rather than you waste your time, spin your wheels.
Exactly.
Just have them come out.
Yeah, I want to do it right, so
Understood.
whatever it takes.
That's
Just
the
want
way
to
to
get
do
to
it.
the bottom of it
Yep.
and just make sure it's correct.
Yeah, because
Understood.
ultimately, his site plan is what's at risk.
Right. I
Because,
got it.
and then I would think there has to be some legal basis for you to make this application that has to be
Yeah, we
with
talked
the owner
about
of the
it.
property. So,
Yeah, we
yeah,
talked
there has to
about
be a
that.
trail that allows you to make this application.
Right.
Or he can make it for you if you choose, so.
Right. No, we talked about it.
Yes, we already spoke about it.
Okay.
Okay?
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
guys.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, next we had a town board referral, Homeland Towers. That's been withdrawn by the applicant.
Yes.
Can we discuss that because it's on the agenda, or do we have to hold off?
I think you can discuss anything that you wish to discuss.
Is
generally
it,
speaking.
is the location remaining the same? So it would
Right now,
still-
the location has not changed. I don't know if they're revising the location or not. The only thing I think they might be revising is the access, but I don't know what they have up their sleeve right now.
I'm sorry, if you guys do want to speak, if you could, take it outside, I appreciate it. So the location's not, so anybody that had a home there, had a park behind their property, and now they're talking about alienation of parkland and putting up a tower?
Is it a portion or the entire parkland?
The portion.
It's a portion.
Okay. And I'm just unclear, because what I know about it is what I basically read in the papers. Is this coming at us because of a federal law that requires us to process this? The town, I mean,
The federal government has a program that has identified that area as a spot that needs cell service that is deficient.
Okay,
And so this is one of the areas that, that they've identified, and this is the site that seems to be, I guess, the best fit. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind it was. But that's what this is about. It's because that entire area, and if you ask anybody that lives there, there's very, very poor cell service. So it becomes, it's kind of like a battle of necessity. It's not, I don't think cell phones are a convenience any longer. Most people don't even have landlines in their houses, so our challenge is to try to mitigate what the government is coming down and coordinating with the state, at the town level.
Did they look at any other location?
I believe they've identified several spots, but I think it's more the entire area. I'm not sure if they looked at other locations, but I could find out. I wouldn't be able to have an idea, if I wouldn't be able to comment on it, where I would be confident into what I'm saying, so I won't comment.
It's just one of those things where you buy with parkland behind your house. That's generally something that doesn't change. And now you're getting
It
cell
was
tower.
made parkland,
recently.
yeah, maybe 15, 20 years ago. In my time.
so if I'm to understand this, this is coming from the federal government to the state government.
Right. to us.
So, to us. So, I'm guessing, given that structure, we don't really have the ability to say no to it if they decide to go forward, and they get the alienation that the state would then give this location. So if that were to be the case, are we left simply to mitigate the impacts of it to the best we can?
I don't think Again, I'm not gonna comment on it, but I will say that I don't think that, you know, this is not coming from the town or the town board, and we're
Right,
like
right.
putting up, trying to put cell
Right,
towers up
yeah.
everywhere, so.
I'm just trying to get the lay of the
it's-
land, so to
yeah,
speak.
it's kinda like very difficult, because this is one of those, you know, things that, that's being mandated. So, you know, that's where we're at, we're trying to, you know, figure out the best way forward, given the circumstances that we're in. I know the state, I'm not sure, but the state was supposed to do something at the state level, and I think they did, allowing allowing the land to be alienated. So I don't know if, I do think it passed. They moved it at the state level in the assembly.
They allowed for the alienation?
They
Not for,
allowed
not for this particular site.
for
Oh, okay.
paving
That's
the
not what he
way.
means, yeah.
Yeah, for
Okay.
paving the way,
Okay.
yeah.
So if the state ultimately said no, then this goes away.
Yeah, if the
Okay.
state didn't, yeah, right,
And if they say yes, then we've got to deal with the impacts
correct,
as best we can.
correct.
I'm just trying to get what we're here for, so, okay.
Counselor, does that pretty much wrap it up? No, I'm sorry. This is a work session, I said in the beginning, with all due respect to everybody here, any questions would have to be done at a public hearing. If we let one person speak, it opens up the box. I hear you, I'm sure you have a lot you want to say, but please.
The only thing
Thank
I'd
you.
add is, generally when the state legislature takes up an alienation request, they do so based on a home rule request. This is a little bit, I don't know if this is a little bit different because the genesis of this is federal government, so I'm not quite sure how that would apply.
They
But
were gonna make a home rule request on this one as well.
okay, all right. So that's the other, I guess, procedural step that generally has to happen first. But
Which that did occur.
that did, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Now, I will tell you that we've received quite a bit of letters and correspondence with people that are in favor of it, and on the other side, that people are not in favor of it. And, you know, the town board is sensitive to that, and so, you know, we're proceeding cautiously.
All right, so I guess we'll wait to hear from them. Thank you,
So you could send me an email if you have a question, please.
thank you.
And you could email us as well.
Yeah, email the board.
So,
Or
I didn't mean to jump
the
out.
department.
but you should send it to him first.
Thanks.
Do so, Joe.
Pile 'em on.
All right. Next, we have a town board referral. This is a Lake Osceola rezone. Location is 3,000 Navajo Street.
Good evening, everyone.
How
Michael
are you?
Grace. I apologize. I just got notice of this late this afternoon. So I didn't know this was on tonight, but I'm here. Answer any questions that you have. This is you're actually quite familiar with it. We've been in it before you several times. This is the Creative Living property behind Navajo and 6N. And we had discussed several approaches at looking at the property in order to allow this project to move ahead. And the options were a blanket rezoning of the property, or, in our review, we before the town board several times and back and forth, and we feel that probably the better approach to this would be to extend the Osceola overlay district onto this property. And it actually, when they did the Osceola overlay district, which is similar to the same thing that happened in the Heights, which allowed for Soundview property to move ahead, the incentive in that legislation was to create some basis for to create traction to improve both the Heights area and the Osceola 6N corridor, which were areas that were, in basically the town, we always used to split it into 5 hamlet areas, and those were the 2 hamlet areas that seemed to need the most help or boost towards, future economic viability. And in the Heights area, we have old shopping centers that have had vacancies for long periods of time. Uncle Giuseppe's moved into the old Kmart, the old Food Emporium building, and then you have the Kmart, which is still vacant. Now something's happening there, but you have vacancies where Uncle Giuseppe's used to be, or what Turco's. So when you look at the certain areas of town, one of the areas of town is the northern end of town, and this is the farthest north east corner of the town where the property lies. You have the 6N corridor, which quite frankly has a lot of issues, both environmental issues in terms of the lake, quality of the water of the lake, sewer effluent causing eutrophication to the lake. You have stormwater problems, you got traffic problems in terms of, it's always been a trick to find out how to do traffic calming devices through that corridor. And you unfortunately have a lot of properties that at one time had commercial viability that have no longer have any commercial viability. And one of the issues up there as well is that is the Jefferson Valley Mall in and of itself. I know that it's been buoyed by Dick's and a couple other stores, but unfortunately I think Dick's already had a closing in the Hudson Valley. It's an area that needs an infusion of some type of economic vitality. The problem has always been, and the dilemma has always been, and it's nothing new, it's been going on for decades, is how do you do it? Well, one of the one things that was lacking up there and really needed to be done was certain infrastructure, including sanitary sewers, probably stormwater control, and again, streetscape and traffic calming devices through that corridor to create the viability that's necessary for that area to compete economically in the future. This is a project that has great promise for the town because it is willing to, based upon unit count and economic viability of the project, to put in that infrastructure, namely the sanitary sewer line through the 6N corridor. So it's been something that's been kicked around for a long period of time. It's been through the planning department. It's kind of coalesced as to what is the broad parameters of a plan for up there. And in order to move it forward, you need basically the legal infrastructure to do so. And we feel that the best legal infrastructure to do that is through the extension of the overlay onto that property. Because quite frankly, having legislated the Osceola Overlay District, it's really meaningless without having the infrastructure there to create the vitality and hopefully the repurposing and regrowth of that area. The legislation was put in place with that intent, but without the infrastructure in place, that's never going to happen. So this project basically has the potential of reinvigorating that 6N corridor. It also, we believe that it's about 240 units are proposed. It's on 50 acres of property. It preserves probably almost 50% of the existing property in green space and recreational space. So it is aesthetically, it is the design of the different buildings has been very particularized. It also visually, it's basically set back. You won't be able to see it probably almost from any. You won't see it from 6. Probably won't be able to see it from 6N. Most of the development is in the back areas of the 50 acres. And it also proposes an active recreational component in a sports facility as well, because we want to maintain what it has been, which has been a recreational resource to the town. So we think this project has an awful lot of merit, and I see it's got a lot of fans. And I love it. I think this is great. This is what participation in local government should be all about. We absolutely love it, and I would absolutely love the opportunity to sit down with these lovely people at their location. Don't give me the thumbs down yet. To discuss the merits of it. I think once you dig deeper into it, and do a deeper dive, I think that they can see what the merit of the project is, especially for their neck of the woods, because everybody's sensitive about their investment in their homes, and I think that this particular project has the ability to maintain the viability of that area. You have some properties that are distressed, commercial properties that are distressed, including the mall, and if we don't do something, it's not going to be good for that area. It's not going to be good for the town. We also have, I guess, environmental issues up there as the continued eutrophication of the lake through effluent pouring off that hill up there. So sanitary sewers is a must. It's never going to happen if we wait for government to do it. It's not going to happen. So we have a private investor that's willing to do it.
I think
Rich.
they were in front of us once before, right?
Yeah, several times, yeah.
Several times?
Yeah, a couple of times, I think.
And I know one of the meetings, I can't remember if it was the last one we saw you, we asked about the DEC regulated areas.
Yes.
Has that been looked at yet?
Yes.
And is there any activities taking place that are contrary to the original site plan?
Absolutely not. And the thing is that there's a lot of misinformation regarding this site, and I don't, and I harken back to the time that I was town supervisor, because there's constantly this tug and pull as to what was there, what was approved, what was not approved, blah, blah, blah. We did this whole thing. It was endlessly discussed. Eventually, I signed an official site plan setting forth the fixed points of what was allowed and what was permitted, and it has DEC approval. But quite frankly, in terms of this application, that's irrelevant. If there are, or someone believes that there are existing violations of any types of permits whatsoever, there's a process which that goes through, and there's due process due to the landowner as to whether or not that has any validity. I'm not, it's a long history on the property, and I think it's completely irrelevant to those issues have their own process and their own due process procedures as far as anything that anyone believes is untoward on the property. But I can tell you right now, it's completely compliant with all jurisdictional permits.
Thank you. And the property directly in front of it, on Route 6,
Yeah.
is where they're proposing the recycling center to start.
Yeah, and that's to my point. So the thing is, look what you are getting up in that corridor. You're getting applications for a really noxious industrial use, which hopefully the town board will take some action, and the action is fairly simple as far as just legislating that particular use out of the in the industrial zone, which is absolutely doable. I know they were in front of the ZBA, and there was an interpretation, so they narrowed their building envelope, I think, to 10 feet wide. It doesn't fit. And talk about environmental impact. There's two stream crossings. There's the steep slopes. There's a lot of earth movement that have to take place. It's a god awful plan. But this is what you're inviting, and then what did you have? You got a solar panel farm up there as well. I don't think any of those things are necessarily where the town needs to go. So you got a corridor that is actually, it's got a lake, it's got a beautiful natural resources. You have Osceola Lake, you have what we call Bogdanov Pond, which needs a lot of work. But you've got a lot of different. You've got natural resources, which would be the envy of any developer in order to have that available to enhance and do something with. You had George Roberta come in on Osceola Lake. I don't know if you remember that. That's where the old beach house. Yeah, and he had a wonderful plan there. Why didn't it go through? Again, infrastructure. But had that gone through, you would have had a whole different atmosphere through that corridor. The thing is, what you're gonna do is you're gonna create the corner of town that's gonna get dumped on. And the thing is that's why you have Navajo Road. That's why Navajo Road became an industrial use, because it's a corner of the town, et cetera. It didn't have the proper infrastructure to do something that was much more apropos for the town of Yorktown. And you're losing these opportunities. I think it's completely short-sighted to just to be just knee-jerk against the project that actually has a wonderful potential to uplifting that whole area of town, to make it. We look at our hamlet areas. You look at the Shrub Oak. So Shrub Oak has a nice streetscape. It's people that come to the Shrub Oak for the first time are just we may be used to it, but they're awed by it. It's a very, very picturesque, Hudson Valley, small town feel to it. Well, Lake Osceola, that strip was the same way at one time. It attracted. What do you have? You had summer bungalows because people enjoyed the lake. That's what it was. It had great vitality, decades ago. It's disappeared. But why has it disappeared? Because nobody. There are a lot of small lots that aren't aggregated. Nobody can do anything on their own. There isn't an overall plan for development up there. And the biggest issue is, even if you try to do something, you can't, because there's no infrastructure to do anything to upgrade the community. So now you got somebody that's coming along and say, "I'll do it." And the thing is, it really has merit. It has merit to do the deep dive. And I would say, juxtaposed to the other development that you have at the other end of 6 End, which is Contractors Register, they're not producing anything in terms of a community benefit to the town. That's something that is, in my mind, would be much more questionable than this one. This one has real merit. And I think it requires the deep dive. It requires the analysis. You're going to miss an opportunity that really doesn't come along to a town very often. That you can actually have, it's not a dense development based upon the acreage. It's going to be aesthetically well done. It preserves a lot of open space, and you start to incentivize the revitalization of that whole corridor, and you get rid of stuff like the idea that you can come in and put a garbage transfer station up in that neck of the woods. And you have Navajo Street, which is also maybe an industrial zone, but there are industrial zones that can be done aesthetically pleasing to the community that we wouldn't be noxious at all. But again, you need the infrastructure. And it doesn't exist, and you're not getting it. You're not going to get it through state grants. You're not going to get it through federal grants, and the town of Yorktown's not going to afford it on its own. So we think this has real merit. We would like your recommendation that this move forward. If that recommendation comes, all that means is now that the town board hopefully will entertain the extension of the overlay district onto this property, and they have their obligation to do their deep dive as well. And if that goes forward, then it comes back to you guys as well during the site plan and development.
Is our response, should it be aimed at specifically the area that we're looking at on this map, or is the overlay zone proposed for beyond the limits of this?
There is an overlay zone around Lake Osceola.
Right.
It does not include this property.
Right.
So that nice green thing that you see on the map is what's in play right now.
So it's specific to that?
Specific to that.
Okay.
The referral is for lead agency. So I think that there's some documentation that they've produced in support of the project that you guys should probably go through.
Right.
You have to recognize that the secret process, you can't bifurcate it most often. But I think that you should be clear in your message to them that if and when it does get to a site planning situation, that you have every ability to look at all of the things that you need to look at, and I think that's a reasonable thing, and I think that the team would probably appreciate that, because it would eliminate some of the deep dive that should happen during site planning, and not necessarily in the consideration of extending the overlay district. That being said, you have to make sure that there's enough documentation there to understand the impacts of the project in order to recommend to the town board that you agree that it is a good project to potentially move forward.
But the request for lead agency is not for the town board to act as lead agent in terms of the site plan approval.
Not, no.
No, just for the application of the overlay zone.
Right, but remember that when there is again, you can't easily bifurcate the secret process, so there's typically going to be one lead agency, which is probably going to be the town board, but I think that you just need to make clear that the board recognizes that you need to have every ability to look at all of the things that go along with the site plan and not be barred from that by a question of secret bifurcation or anything like that, segmentation.
If I may, the anomaly with, what's built into your the statute puts you in that kind of a situation, because it's a multiple steps, process, whereby, and especially here, where you first apply the overlay zone, then there's an application for the property to be once the overlay can be laid down on this property, that's one determination. Once that's the determination, then you have the town board making a determination as to whether that project or that should be part of the overlay. Then it goes to you. The problem that you have is that in some cases, if it was a completely if it was a one-step process, all the secret would be done all at once. So you do the reviews, you do your determination of what type of action it is, whether extended EAFs would apply or an EIS or whatever would happen. But here you have a multiple step process, but that's built into the law, the way it exists, and it's kind of a strange situation, because you have the town board making some determinations and you have the planning board making determinations. And it's different than what you would do with you have a transitional zone law in the books, and that would be different because you would do everything all at once, including site plan approval and rezoning all at once.
Yeah, they're running everything.
So it's the nature of the beast at this point.
So really, for the most part, you're talking about lead agency right now. In the short term, I think there'll probably be some commentary that you'll develop asking for some additional information supporting the addition of this property into the overlay. So there may be some build-out questions that you have, some traffic questions, things like that. For instance, you touched on the wetlands. I think that's pertinent information in terms of, are there wetlands on the site? How much? Is it likely that they'll be impacted, but not necessarily what mitigation is going to be needed in terms of that type of detail? So that's kind of what I'm getting at.
And if I may also, and to your inquiry, if I interpret it correctly, the application was for this particular property because that's what we control, my client controls. As to whether or not there was at one point a discussion of bringing, just basically extending that overlay district through to that property rather than leapfrogging a couple of pieces in between. The couple of pieces in between, I think there's 1 3-acre piece that is on the north side of 6N, which is very steep. I know that there have been proposals for battery storage in there, because that's what these kind of loose end pieces are generating interest from, which is battery storage or solar panels, because they're not developable right now. You don't have infrastructure to do anything else. But this is where, when you think of this project, and for the town, when you're thinking about it, what are you inviting in terms of the future development of that east corridor? What do you right now? You're going to get. I hate to use the expression, but schlock stuff, because that's all it can sustain at this point. And you have landowners that have made an investment, et cetera, in their property, and this is what you're going to get out of it. So here you have an opportunity, and I genuinely think this is a very good plan, because town has an opportunity to actually to do something that would be very creative, and in the long run be very helpful for the town in every respect.
Right now, we're being asked about the town board acting as the lead agency, and for them to make a decision on adding this into the overlay. That's it right now.
Well, that's what the referral is on, yeah.
Right.
At some point, after you review some of the materials, I think they'll be interested in what you have to say in terms of whether or not all of the information presented is adequate, or there's something missing, things like that. So the record to support putting this property in the overlay district has to be complete and have all of those implications handled.
So have we started vetting that out yet?
Well, we have some things, we looked at it, we didn't crunch numbers in it.
Okay.
But I think if you look through it, I think you'll find some things that jump out in terms of some of the build-out numbers that they produced, similar to what was done for the original overlay district. They use that kind of as a template. So you should look at that. You should look at also the traffic numbers. So,
All right, so can we work with
yeah,
your
we'll-
department
We'll,
to?
we'll produce, you know, like a bulleted list for you to, you know, turn your eyes towards.
Yeah, and if you want us to come back and comment on, as I'll have my technical staff come, the technical staff on the project come. It was just late notice. We didn't, whatever the communication was, we didn't realize that this was on. So this, my technical
Is there a
people.
time limit on this to get back?
Typically, it's 30 days on lead agency, but generally, no.
That could be extended.
No, if you'd like additional time.
All right, so what we'll do at this point, we'll wait for John and staff to go through what's shown in front of us and give us feedback.
Yeah.
At that time, you could take a look, everybody in the room could take a look at that information, and then we'll make a determination on what we see back from the planning
Yeah,
department.
we always appreciate your hard work, especially for what you get paid.
Yes.
We get paid?
Oh, I know.
So, just so everybody in the audience, the planning department is gonna go through, they're gonna do an analysis of what was submitted. Everybody here is more than welcome to go in and get copies of what we look at for your own, look at it. And we probably, do we need to do a site visit of the area again, or?
I think you should.
Yeah,
I think you should. Think you should ride, you know, around the lake, of course.
yeah,
Become familiar again with that if you haven't recently.
Yeah.
And I would recommend taking a walk around the property.
We should let people know what the process is ahead of them so they can participate. I think explaining that overview is a.
yeah. So right now, the only thing that's in front of us is from the town board for them to be lead agency and for putting this in. Past that, there's a lengthy process. I don't know how many have paid attention to what went on up the street here, but again, another lengthy process where it goes through a very significant review. This is the very early stages. We do appreciate everybody coming out and showing their interest in this project. What we do ask is you stay tuned, keep in touch with both planning department. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. But keep in touch with the planning department as we move forward with the process. All right, so right now, we're gonna conduct a site visit. We'll walk the area again, get a refeel. I mean, we just did the recycling facility probably a few months back, and we're gonna go on the other side again. So, we appreciate everybody coming out. We appreciate your civility, and this will be to be continued.
Yeah, and I would just, while you're there, extend my offer to meet with your JOC, so we can go through things, so I can hear your issues. I'd love to. I would hope that in the spirit of cooperation, that you'll accept that invitation for me to come up and talk to you about the project, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to say to the public, I mean, we really appreciate participation, but that participation has to be, you have to do your homework to stay current with what goes on, because there's a lot of stuff that we go through. And we go through it, I know some of it is stuff that you don't know the terminology, and some of us here struggle with some of the terminology too, both legal and engineering-wise and otherwise. Some of us are educated in engineering and architecture, and some of us are not, and some of us are more legally oriented. But you need to follow the process and follow the details, and please do yourself a service, don't follow the rumors. Follow the real information that comes out of either the documents or things that happen at our meetings, and you have to stay current, because you miss a meeting, you can miss a lot of stuff. And we don't make our determination until the very end, so we go through the whole process, and there'll be a public information hearing most likely, and then there'll be a public hearing, and none of that is scheduled yet. This is a process that we don't know what the timing is gonna be. And we have to get the authority to process this from the town board. So once the town board gives us a green light to go forward, excuse me, we have to follow a process and follow the law. So we can't just arbitrarily, we don't make this up as we go. So just so you understand that, because I've been through this a lot with public hearings, and I know people are frustrated and you're concerned, but you have to follow the process to really serve your own interests that well. So that's all I can tell you.
And please know, we do read everything, and we are very concerned about what people think, especially, we say it all the time, this is, obviously you all came out, because this is in your backyard, and it's very intimate to you, so please stay tuned. Thank you very much. Is everybody staying for the Nathans? No? No one wants to stay for the Nathans?
I don't know why.
Yeah, feel free to call Sergio.
My question is, since the driving force of this thing is, and you know me and sewage and water.
Somewhere in Long Beach Island.
Oh, Long Beach Island.
Yeah.
If we put this is all going to Peekskill.
Through the planning office, or go online.
Right, right. Are they gonna be able to handle all the influx, 240, which is now going to open the floodgates for all these people to now start putting in an extra bathroom?
Staying here tonight?
That extra bedroom, which is more important. That's all gonna head to Peekskill. Yeah, good job, people.
Sergio said about the law. That's our council.
I gotta tell you one thing, that Nathan's, he put that, it's a beautiful little spot. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Oh, I liked it. I went there with my grandson the other day.
Did you go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We sat there bullshit.
I remember seeing the signs for months that that was going to happen.
He did a great job, though he did it without permission.
Without other people's interference, he did a good job.
So you were gonna be away?
Next week, yeah.
Where are you going?
Going on a cruise with my father-in-law.
Really?
Yeah.
On purpose?
This guy's the best.
get-
Oh,
get
he's the
along with him
best.
good?
Oh, he's fantastic.
Oh, good. Where are you going?
Bermuda, I think?
Oh.
Yeah, 7-day cruise. What happened?
Was there something we said?
Jeez.
Rich. Tommy's saying we can go, I guess.
He was pointing.
Are we all right? Okay. No, it's nice in here. Oh, no, it's beautiful. I feel, no, this is very nice. All right, last but not least is Nathan's, Mr. Sophie. This is a discussion about outdoor seating. The location is 1990 Commerce Street.
Yeah, all the time.
You know, I even heard for
Lip
a
at
long
the
time,
end
is
of
this
that.
toilet
Huh?
flushing.
Put a lip on it.
There is a little lip, but I mean, there's just not enough
Remember
room.
that?
It's from years of wear.
Yeah, I mean,
You don't remember
It's-
that? It would flush all the time.
there are other towns that I work in have better accommodations. We put it to you that way.
That's hurtful.
Well,
Did you hear that?
no, I'm just saying. So I'm here to speak about the CVS Plaza and specifically the Nathan's and Mr. Softy operation that recently went in. And by all way things look, they're doing a really successful business there. So this is the area of those two businesses, this end of the center. To the bottom of the page is the Al Capolini Cultural and Community Center. This is the edge of the parking lot, and then there's this slope in between. The owners of the excuse me one second. Okay. The owners of the establishment are here tonight, Mike, Curtis, and Carlos. Constructed a seating area outside, often in that slope that I spoke about between the two properties. It's a railroad tie structure. It's elevated from the parking lot. There are stairs that go up to it. It's gravel. Overall dimensions are roughly 34 by 25. This is the property line. There's a chain link fence on the property line between the two properties. There's a 15-foot wide sewer easement, which this straddles. And in addition to the railroad tie structure that they built, they've also installed some evergreens, plantings around that on the south and east side of it. They were not aware of the need to get site plan approval for that. So we're here really to start a discussion on making this right and getting this an amended site plan so that they can continue to use this for a seating area for their patrons.
What kind of easement is it? What is it for? Utility?
It's a town sewer easement.
How deep's the sewer?
The sewer is pretty close in there, according to Dan.
Does this construction on top of it impact?
According to Dan, it's close to it, but it hasn't impacted it.
Do you know how old the line is?
I don't know that.
So if we had a break in there, the town would have to then go in and remove this.
That's correct. Or the property owner would be required to.
If there was a break and we had to remove it, are we obligated to then put it back?
No,
The constructions, no.
no, not at all.
Is there table service to this, Joe?
No, it's strictly takeout, and then the customers would go and seat themselves up there.
And what about handicap access?
There is no handicap access to this area. There is some room just outside the door there for a table or two if that were the need. Or there's, of course, there's seating on the inside. If you've been in there, you would see there's also inside seating.
I tell you, I've been there. It's a really nice setup. You've done well.
Planning wise, parking, they share the parking with next door too?
Well, we always go through the parking.
Yeah.
Again, this is as a takeout and counter service. It's not like a sit-down restaurant.
Right.
You're not getting table service, you're not gonna be there an hour. So, I would anticipate that once we go through the parking count, it would probably, be able to move forward on that regard. So it's a special permit for the outdoor seating. And I think the plan should become part of the record of what's out there on the site as well. You probably should ask the town engineer for a little bit of note on what's the sewer situation is like and what he anticipates with that. And he's there. I didn't see him come in.
Yeah.
Oh, Buck.
And I did speak with Joe and the owners and so forth and the contractor. It's probably an opportunity to make a connection to the community center.
Right, yep.
Ian was asking about a pass-through window or something to
Well, we could do that, but I'm thinking that there's a little stair that comes down and gets you into this plaza. So that, I would suggest that too. And
John, is that over here
No, that would be on the other side.
on this side?
Yeah, because that is where, it's almost directly across from the sidewalk that goes along the back end. So
Okay.
with all the events that go on at the YCC, and in particular outdoor events, I think it makes sense to have that connection. It makes sense to have that connection because there are a lot of people that walk through there anyway. The current condition is very dangerous, because I use it all the time. But that's something that I think maybe you should talk about as well.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and I also, we were talking about Mario's A&S site, about having bollards that possibly would protect us, because I've seen a lot of incidents in that center myself, where we went chasing after a car once, because somebody backed up and hit another car and just took off.
That's why all these things are in place, because they kept driving through the CVS.
Yeah.
And anything over 30
Yeah,
inches,
but
I think, requires a railing in this.
Yeah, that was my
stair.
next thing.
Right.
Yeah,
There's
no,
there's no
the,
railing for fall protection.
Yeah, fully aware of the need for a railing.
The other thing I think should be added is a painted crosswalk from the
Right.
facility to the patio, and the possibility of a couple of signs that say, stop for pedestrians, a crosswalk or something like that.
What's in the alley between this and the park?
That's the access to the back of the,
Yeah, just the access to the back.
this goes back.
It's
to
pretty
the
wide.
YCC building.
Is there dumpsters that get picked up there?
There's dumpsters in the back, yep. Like I said, that's pretty
so it's
wide
truck
there,
traffic.
and there's
Yeah.
a fire zone against the building, I believe.
Is there any direct lighting on the steps for night?
There's no lighting, no.
There is lighting, Joe.
Oh, there is?
There is lighting.
There's
On the
general lighting.
steps?
There's
On
no,
the steps, no,
Oh.
but, from the building to the
There's
steps,
no,
yes.
there's, okay,
there's general lighting there.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's not any new lighting specific to this installation.
Is this area, specifically for the Nathans, Mr. Softy?
I don't think they would preclude anyone else from going in there. There's nothing to stop anyone else from going there.
All right, so I guess next steps would be look at the parking, check the site plan.
Yeah, so
Would there,
we'll get the application for the special permit, and we'll just move it from there.
do we need anything, Dan, because it's over the sewer?
Thought he was heading to the door.
Actually, we're gonna go out there, we were supposed to do it today, we're gonna shoot grades to see how much cover's left on the sewer. Because it is a asbestos concrete pipe,
No.
and it's a major line, it's a major trunk sewer in
How
town.
big is it?
14 inches,
Oh,
so it's not so we wanna make sure it's protected, whatever
Yeah.
ends up happening here, that, I wanna make sure it hasn't been damaged with all the activity up there, because the transite is very brittle.
yeah.
We've already planted trees and stuff up there, so I'm kind of cringing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, did the grade change when they put this in? So,
Well, you can see there's a retaining wall in the back, so.
yeah, but I'm saying the cover on that pipe was probably diminished.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wall's over 4 foot, so someone signed and sealed it, or
What,
the wall?
no, there's no permit for it.
So that's gonna have to be, someone's gonna have to sign
Yeah,
and seal it, right?
they're gonna have to apply for a building permit.
Right, it looks very nice. I think you're just gonna have to work through the details.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, short term, there's no railings and no, it's
Yeah.
kind of, shouldn't be left like that.
No.
Even if it's gotta come out, we've created
Is the
a safety hazard
timber
now
all
that,
pinned?
what's that?
Is the timbers are all pinned to each?
I mean, it looks like it has dead men on it, but I don't know how they would have done it, because they would have had to go onto the town's property. So it's, I don't know how they did it, but nobody inspected it.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that's part of the problem.
So,
It's nice looking work. It's a shame that it may have to be pulled down to be inspected.
They are moving towards putting railings up,
Joe, who built it?
from what I was just told.
Who built it?
One of the owners built it.
Yeah,
They had to
looks
have a
nice.
They had to have a contractor do it. They had to bring in a machine.
We're the owners.
Okay.
He built the whole store, in fact.
All right.
Does the retaining wall, do you have dead men going back, or?
There is, but they're not 4 feet back, so we never went to Down's property, they're a couple feet, I mean, you know,
Are the timbers pinned?
yes, with a lot of pins, yes.
Yeah, I'm just concerned because the town has trucks, 3 trucks that go back and forth there all the time. So that, the weight of those trucks, sometimes they're the larger trucks and they're dump trucks. So that it may affect the, you know, the durability of that wall. So, but it's gonna have to be addressed, I guess, with the building department. Okay.
I do think, what Bob said, being sensitive to, you know, anybody who's handicapped, maybe it would be smart to have something outside, you know, so that they could enjoy the outdoor, dining, I guess, experience too.
I can't see in the photograph, but it looks like the right side of the photograph
Almost a
would
grade.
almost give you a opportunity to
Like
go
going
onto
up
that
here?
level off of the grade, the upper grade
You
there.
mean right here?
Yes.
And then up, maybe up the
Yeah,
other side?
exactly. You probably could do it from grade rather than having to put a long ramp in from the other side.
We could look at that.
Yeah, just,
Have you guys been out to the site? Yeah. All right, so I would continue to work with John and Robin.
Ian's gonna buy us lunch, he said, if we go out there.
Say?
Ian's buying?
He said if we go out there, he didn't say a big lunch.
A half a hot dog. Half a hot dog each.
Not from Nathan, it's gonna be from CBS.
All right, so,
Yeah.
Barman, obviously, Dan's gonna have to be in the loop.
Yep.
Maybe at some point, that's something that we got a slip line there. Yeah, okay. All right,
That hasn't happened yet, Dan?
did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
What was that?
He must be talking to
I think
himself.
Ian's watching a TV show on
So
that
he's-
thing. Is that what it is? All right, so, Joe, just work with town
Okay,
staff.
cool. Okay.
Is there any objections to the seating itself?
None whatsoever.
All right, so just work with staff to work through the details. All right?
Thanks very much.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Good luck. How's the business doing? It's going well? Good.
Good.
Congratulations. Do I have a motion to close the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Yorktown.
God bless America.